it last time, dude. He had the whole setup. He had his camera. He had
Mine's
everything.
terrible now. Hey, Chris, are you crushing a Dr. Zivia?
You hear me?
Hey,
Those are so good.
look at this, Chris.
Oh, look at that, dude. We're all hitting it. That's what my daughter drinks, child.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hey, Maddie, eat that. Don't let Remy.
It's cool that Chris, we finally got Creel on there. Chris McMotherfucking Broom.
Are you recording this?
Yeah, I restarted.
Fuck.
Yeah, people can see that strong beard you
Like
got.
right now, or do I so be good now? Or we're gonna start it in a minute.
No,
I say be good now because we can just let it naturally flow.
Jesus, this dude's
Dan,
a mess.
pregnant?
I thought I was gonna be the mess.
Dan,
He was way better last week.
He's just so scatterbrained. Look, squirrel.
Can you hear us, Skinner?
Dude, that was the longest delay. There was just a whole bunch of no noise for a second. Can you?
Yeah.
With chew cars.
It's called a chucker.
Oh yeah, no, I just chuck. I chuck around every weekend with that stud.
Nice.
Yeah,
How old is Remy now?
1.
Dang.
Dude, he's only 1. It's still a puppy. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
He's doing so good. He's like a year or 2 ahead of where he should be. But he's doing
That's
awesome.
cool. Gordy just turned 5.
It's fun. God, he's already 5. That's crazy.
Dude, it's unreal. He's got some gray underneath his muzzle and everything. It's nuts. It's a trip.
River.
Nice. It's awesome. Yeah, Niner's almost 13.
Dude, I found an old picture of Niner on. I'll have to send it to you. I was looking through some old photos from back in the Palmer days. I found a couple of good ones in Niner.
I think I have a few too. I have a few of the whole crew. When there was like 6 dogs in one apartment.
Oh, that was amazing.
Can you imagine if we did like the mission trip, but we got to take 30 students or 15 students? It'd be insane.
Oh, it'd be probably
like that changed our career, and that was probably one of the worst people ever to run that. Won't say any names, but yeah.
Well, it was a vehicle.
I've never known more than someone that has been doing it for 10 years, and we've been doing it for 1. It's like we weren't even taking adjusting classes yet. And we were like, well, I'm not going to ask you a question. What do you think of this, Dan?
This 87-year-old was hit by a bus. Hey, Joe, can you help me?
Yeah.
It was.
Don't ask that other girl. Yeah.
Yeah, when he was complaining about his shoulder, and she adjusted his neck.
Yeah.
His shoulder's been
Well, you see the nerves.
Yeah.
Well, his
That
shoulder
was such a difference between the two. Well, like, was there anyone else aside from Palmer West and Life West? Did we have any? Do we have anyone?
It was just those 2, right?
That was so crazy to see the difference. Like, it was just. I'll never forget when that one translator came up and said something. I think she was talking to Demir or something, and said something like, "Huh, it's funny. All of the people on this that are seeing people on this side of the room leave really happy, and all the people who leave on this side of the room just they seem to be like either in pain or seem to be really sore or something like that." It was like a funny
I remember this. This.
Yeah, I would say the one thing going back on that girl's blast in the neck for that guy's shoulder when his shoulder had been dislocated for like 15 years, just sitting out, completely atrophied, like no function whatsoever. And then we just sat there and tried relocating that shit, and then made a trash bag.
And then Dan
he started lining people up, just like, dude, you guys got to go to this guy.
But then that guy hung around all day for Joe. The rest of the time, he was just like, when we left on in our van, he's just like waving with his good arm. He's just like, "Oh yeah, thank you." That was so funny.
It's probably
it goes to show, like, you know, when you have such minimal access to care like that, it's like that makes a big difference when someone who knows what they're doing pops in.
Yeah, that was a great time. I'll never forget also the conversations we had with the knee chest crew.
Oh, dude.
Do you remember that? When we ran into them in the airport?
At the airport?
Like when I feel my pisiform just
Oh, they
connect
brought those
perfectly
tables,
Yeah,
right?
with
remember that guy
with
was
that
like the
lateral mass.
reincarnation of Dee Palmer. Do that like tall beard.
I changed so many people's blood pressure. It was sweet.
Well, the problem is it's a religion for them. You know what I mean? It's like it becomes a religion. It's weird.
Yeah,
I don't
People
like
start. You hang around with people who believe stuff like that, and pretty soon it's very easy for you to believe it too, right?
I had a patient who
Yeah.
came in who was like, dude, I got the craziest knee chest adjustment the other day. I was like, what the fuck? Like, how
I had
he's like deep.
yeah.
I got toggled one time by Randy Waters, and that was I remember leaving and being like, wow, I think that's like actually there's probably a little bit of like jostling of the brain. Like this might like if you got lots and lots of these, you'd probably have some CTE over the long
Get a little
haul.
concussion every time.
Oh, totally. Like I was like kind of like seeing stars a little bit. I was like, wow, but it hit me in
Oh shit.
legit better probably than just some of the other styles of doing it where they apply pressure for 10 seconds and then say, yeah, that'll hold. But I don't know.
So when was the last time you knee chest somebody in the office?
Couple weeks.
No,
same thing with drop table, right? Like my lifetimer, I got that drop table thing just because I was like, when I first ordered the table when I was 6-7 years ago, and I've never used it. I've never used it. It was a waste of money.
What do you guys do if they ask you if you can use an activator on them? Do you just say, yeah, sure, and pull it out of a little drawer and click them, or do you actually
I don't have one.
Yeah,
I don't own one.
you don't have
I
one?
usually
I know Dan has, or the office has one.
Yeah, there's one in the office. I go with the same standard thing, which is I'll be honest, every once in a while, like maybe like once a year, there'll be one person who comes in who's seen a previous doctor and that's what they've gotten. So I'll do it. But for the most part, if it's a new person or if it's someone who's kind of curious about it, I just tell them the same thing, which is I haven't been trained in that. I don't know how to, I can't do that. So I can refer you to someone who wants, and they're usually like, well, last time I had my neck adjusted, it didn't go all that well. Like, oh, well, it's kind of like getting haircuts, you get a bad haircut and it's not going to put you off getting your haircut, but let's, we can talk about it. And so most of the time you try not to be pushy with stuff like that, but I would rather do mobilization in someone's neck and just do some stretching and muscle work than to placebo their neck with a click. Like I truly think that there's better stuff I can just do with my hands than to just try and sell them on the idea that an activator is somehow even remotely close to an adjustment.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Neither can I. But no,
I remember Dominguez coming in. We were doing an outreach, and some guy wanted it. Dominguez literally took a ballpoint pen and just started smacking the side of his neck, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I feel so much better." But
I tend
that's crazy.
I've had a couple people because there's the Arlen Fur crew is out here in Phoenix.
Oh.
So every now and then I'll run into some patients that have been through there, and they talk about, I'm not checking their legs and doing all these things that way, and I just tell them, well, they run into a different philosophy. I just wasn't trained in it. It's usually what I'll tell them. Then I let them know, like, and by the way, you're about to hear and feel some pops, and you're going to stand up and have some serious range of motion changes. So this will be a lot different than what you just experienced at someone else's practice.
Yeah, I always tell patients, like, the reason they're using an activator is either because they can't adjust, right? They're unable to move it, or they want you to have a really easy time treating someone. Like, it requires zero effort for them to click your back. They can do that 200 times a day.
Oh yeah,
do you think never be a problem? I was like, I don't think they do it because they think the results are better. Absolutely not. I think it's either a way to save their body or they just were incapable of adjusting someone manually.
Agreed.
I can't imagine there ever being a activator doctor that goes on disability from an overuse injury, unless it's a Hallis's longest strain or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I just switch over to use my left hand now.
I can't use my thumb.
Well, that's why you get the auto. You get the auto adjuster.
Even better.
Yeah.
Is that that thing?
No, not even that one. There's an activator out there that's like it's like censored because of all the they built a bunch of electronics in it, and it's just like you press a button and it dink. So now you don't have to spring load.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll buy you one for your birthday.
Yeah.
67 visits later, you'll be 25% better.
Yeah, exactly.
Or natural history will cure you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, so this would be a pretty decent transition into one of the questions that someone had sent. So we'll bust out that question. So I do it word for word for you. Best ways to increase patient numbers starting off in practice as a new grad. We were all new grads at one point, so we should
Been
be
a while.
with this.
Getting old.
Yeah. Well, part of it, I think, has a lot to do with how you're deciding that you're going to practice.
Yeah, it also depends on the style of practice that you're going for, and if you're going to work in an existing clinic or you're starting on your own or whatever. And I mean, I'll just jump in and give you my 2 cents real quick. I think the best thing you can do is be out there and meeting people and doing it in a way where it feels authentic, and you're not just, out to meet people to get patients. Like being involved in the community and just, joining a gym or, going to a yoga studio or whatever, and just let it, organically turn out that you're also a chiropractor and that people, might ultimately come and see it down the line. I think you have to also think of the long and the short game at the same time. So in the very short game, something as simple as just going to a place like a gym or a studio and talking to a few trainers and being like, hey, what kind of stuff are you dealing with your clients? Or do you need any help? Do you need someone on your team who can be an asset to you as well? And not doing it in a kind of a cheesy salesy way. I think like we already have a reputation for being like that. And I think that it's really nice when you can just come across as just a regular person who's trying to promote their business in a good, ethical way. And just make connections, like as many connections as you can.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on that, I think you just provide value to people, and everything else kind of takes care of itself. In the beginning, your networking numbers just are not big. Your network is small, and so getting out there increases your network size. But then, like when you're out there in front of the people, like Dan said, you're not at like a mall, doing a spinal screening. We did things like I worked for an office for a year as an associate right out of school before I opened up my own clinic. And one of the better ideas that I thought chiropractor had was like teacher appreciation events or nurse appreciation events, things like that. And you just go to like a school and you provide like 10, 15 minutes of like tissue work to these teachers. You talk to them, you just tell them like, hey, maybe show them a stretch or two. And they're just so appreciative of it. And a lot of them come as patients because, they have pretty physical days and they have low back pain or neck pain and things like that. It's a great way to just like slowly get your name out there as like a value add, as opposed to just kind of like hey, one of your shoulders is higher than the other. You should probably get that cured.
Yeah, dude. I always said, like, if you want to grow your practice, the more people that know your name, the more referrals you're going to get. It's just that simple. So connect with your community, get out there and meet a bunch of people. The more people that know your name, the better. But the way I got patients the most is I didn't think I could convince someone to come into me because I told them I'm good. Right? Like, of course you think you're good, right? You get people to come in when you get referrals, right? That's the way it works. So I'm like, all right, who can refer me the most patients? That's who I'm going to connect with. So that's like massage therapists, PTs, right? Chiropractors that are busy. And so like I went to a lot of those people. Trainers were huge. And I would just go sit down with them, talk to them, work on each other, do little trades. And then when they say like, hey, this chiropractor is actually pretty legit, the massage therapist says that person comes to you without question. It's not you talking yourself up, it's someone else. Yeah. That worked for me. And I've gotten hundreds of patients from just massage therapists alone. It's probably my biggest referral source. That or trainers and coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's such a good point, man. That doing trades is such an easy, approachable way to start something up like that. Like even if you are experienced in training or something like that, going in with the intent of meeting someone and not necessarily wanting them to refer people to you, but just saying, hey, I could use a massage, I could use this, and we're both or I could use some personal training, or like I do a trade with people who cut my hair and stuff like that. So it's like,
Me too.
it's that was yeah, Demir as well. But people who have the opportunity to see what you're capable of will be the ones who will refer you. So that's such, yeah, I agree 100% with what Chris said. That's such a good
Yeah,
piece of
great question,
advice too.
Jamie.
Yeah.
I think paying people too is, I don't know, like, I don't know if you guys have this. So if a massage therapist comes into you and they pay you to get adjusted and you're bullshitting with them, you're talking about what they do, I send those people, a lot of people.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you actually came here, you like what I do, you're willing to pay for it. Now, like, I feel like I got to return the favor by sending you people. So I always wondered, you know, like, maybe you just go and get a massage, pay $100, like, enjoy it, bullshit with them, and then I guarantee they'll send you some people if they like what you say.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
all of us have had a pretty similar way of meeting people and kind of authentically creating nice relationships with people, and they get to know us, and they're not, like you said, you don't have to sell yourself, and we all have that confidence that even when they've seen other chiropractors, you're like, yeah, I'll do this better than them, and you're
Yeah.
confident enough to know that when that person lays on your table, just let them on my table, I'll do the rest. And for me, when I was in Sacramento working for the guy I worked for, he didn't really hand me too many patients. Every now and then he would give me somebody. He'd be like, "Oh, this could be a good one for you." They were active. But I really nuzzled up in the CrossFit community because at the time I was really enjoying doing CrossFit and trying to get competitive with it so I could stay ahead of you guys in regards to my fitness. But I walked into that gym and I went there to train. I did not go there with the intention to, okay, I'm going to put my card up in this file where everyone else has their cards. There's maybe 4 different chiropractors, a couple PTs, and massage therapists that have their cards up there. I was there for a couple months until, the owners were like, "Oh, so tell me more about yourself." And I was like, "Yeah, I just graduated chiropractic school. I was told to come train at Rock and CrossFit because they're going to make me strong and fit." And like, "You're a chiropractor? Oh my gosh, we have a couple that train here. You should meet them." And it's like, "Oh, great." And then you meet them and you're like, "God, these guys are cheese balls." And they're telling people, they're very quick to tell someone like they shouldn't do something when they're
They're there for
doing it
patients.
themselves. I'm like, these fucking assholes. And so I just, when I finally treated the owners, they saw how I worked, they thought I was different. And, before I left, I was treating 90% of that whole entire gym. So I would say coaches were really valuable to my business and still are today. Granted, I'm in a gym, so the coaches and I have wonderful relationships. Massage therapists too, local to here, they send me a lot of people. I went out and met other practitioners like DOs, MDs, explained myself and just had coffee with them just to get to know them better. A friend of a friend that happens to know someone who went to someone, if they think they're a good practitioner. I tried keeping my circle of my network really high caliber, because then I can really trust them when I send someone over there and have the confidence that they're going to do really well. So for instance, if I have a case and I refer them away from me, they're gonna say, "Wow, Joe made a good decision. That's really cool." And then that practitioner themselves sees, "Oh wow, Joe sent me somebody," and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I should send this person over to Joe too." So then it just becomes this really nice symbiotic relationship that's just constantly rolling over, and then also staying really connected with them, like telling them, "Hey, I'm sending you this person, and let's collaborate and make sure that we can keep this person healthy." And also educating the patient through that. So yeah, getting out there and making solid relationships is important, and not being forced. Like don't just walk into a CrossFit gym and be like, "I'm going to start CrossFit today because I'm going to get a lot of patients," or "I'm going to go start doing yoga because I'm going to get a lot of patients." It's like, if you like running, just go join a running group because you're already doing that thing and it's very natural to you. Or if you like water basket weaving, then go do that too.
Dude, I used to do cover work for people when I first started. So I would go cover their practice, and I do, like, I can do 4-hour days, 3 days a week or whatever, when I had no patients. And holy shit, I didn't poach any of those people, but they found me. It was amazing. It's like, maybe like this one chiropractor retired, dude. And like, I don't know, 80 patients came within the first month of him retiring because I saw them while he was there. This is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you said that, I was like, this is a really dangerous move for
Yeah.
some of these
It's a
chiropractors.
bad idea, but it's
Yeah. One chiropractor called me. He's a pretty humble dude, so he's not very cocky. And he was like, "Hey man, I can't have you cover me anymore." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "My patients like you more." And he just straight said that. And I was like, "Oh shit. Oh, sorry, dude." I had one patient, I was in there for 4 minutes and she's like, "This was the most thorough visit I've ever had in my life." It's like, holy shit. That's insane. But it did
That's-
work. I mean, you don't want to be a scumbag over there like, "Hey, come see me in my office." Don't do that. But
Yeah.
definitely like just providing good care. And then if the circumstance comes where they can't get in there or the guy retires or whatever, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And fuck, dude, if I had someone cover my practice and people went to that chiropractor, that's on me.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know what I mean? Like if they like that dude better, that's 100% on me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've had the same situation with Big B over here in Phoenix, where I've helped him out and he's helped me out. But I think
Yeah.
I think a lot of it does really come down to like not just personality and treatment, but like that interaction, that little moment where you're working on these people. I mean, when you actually ask them like, so how, when you genuinely ask them how their day is going or how did that feel or how are you feeling now? Like a lot of them don't even
Yeah.
ask the question, stand up and move.
Yeah.
Does that feel better? Versus just, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
Just
Lay
go.
down and bye.
Yeah.
That's it.
you kind of got to take a look around and see what the status quo is and like what people's expectations are. Like I think that idea of like, a lot of people are already, probably feeling like they know what they're going to get before they even show up at someone's office. They have an idea. And if you can kind of over deliver on what their expectations are, then it doesn't matter. You're just going to, win that person over. And very often that's where you get like friends and family that are coming in from that person too.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of times where someone has come in and they're like, "Oh my God, you know what? I feel like my wife needs to come in and see you too, because she's kind of scared of chiropractors. But you actually were really, you were really gentle and nice. And like, I feel like she'd actually like, you'd be a good person for her to see."
Yeah.
And like, that's awesome.
To build on top of what you just said, another thing that I would do quite a bit actually was Geiger would always, whenever a new patient came in, he would mail them, like gift receipts so that they can send to give to a friend or a family member so that they can have a discounted rate. Me, I just sent them my card. I was like, hey, give these cards out to a friend or family member or someone you think I could help and send them over to me. And when I moved to Arizona, instead of doing like an email or anything like that, I just flat out asked my patients to send me people because they don't know if I'm busy or not. They have no clue what my schedule really looks like. So when I was first starting off, I would tell them like, hey, if you think I can help someone else, I would love to. And please send them my number. I need patients. I was just straight up with them. They're like, really? You need people? I'm like, yeah, I just started 3 weeks ago. I don't have anybody. I'm just twiddling my thumbs and doing bicep curls in the corner of this gym. I want to get my hands on them.
That's such a good, honest approach too, because like the more that people probably recognize, oh, you moved from California, you're starting brand new. It's not like you're working in tech where you can do it remotely. It's like you literally show up somewhere and you could be the best adjuster, best clinician in the world. But if you relocate thousands of miles away, you're going to be slow. And so
yeah, no one knows your name.
Yeah,
exactly. And so I think
I grew up here. I know a lot of people, but that doesn't change anything. Like just because I grew up with them doesn't mean they're going to come lay on my table.
yeah, and you're not going to treat practice isn't just built on people It's like people are going to get to know you through treatment and through your practice. So
and I feel like I still have referrals coming in like from 3, 4, 5 years ago where you
100%.
and you value add for somebody and they told somebody about you, and then that person just waited around until whatever they came to see you for got bad enough, and they were like, oh yeah, you know what, this guy told me about this guy a while ago, I'm gonna go see him. So like you never know when and how people are going to see you, so just like keep putting yourself out there. And I think you got to like invest a specific amount of time to like growth. Like you always talk about working in your practice or working on your practice, right? That old cliche, but it's true. Like you can't just, twiddle your thumbs or just kind of like sit around. Like you got to work on that thing. And you got to make plans for it. And
You gotta
have
follow
a
through.
specific way of getting yourself out there is so important. Otherwise it's not going to come quickly.
Yeah, I did every like Monday morning. I would be like, all right, I got to set up 3 meetings this week. So I would find like 2 massage therapists and a trainer, and I'd text them or call them, set it up, and like, all right, I did my shit for the week. Now,
That's it.
yeah, now I do nothing. And what's your first thought when you think of CrossFit?
Yeah.
What was that?
Right? What's your first thought when you think CrossFit? Like when a patient asks you, what do you think of CrossFit? I know you guys get asked that shit all the time, right?
All the time.
Yeah. Is that the question? Is that
Mary,
like what that guy wanted?
I think that's what the question was getting at.
Mhm.
Also, I can't help but notice that Demir's got a hoodie.
Yeah, I got a hoodie.
Yeah. Oh,
You
you
got
weren't here when he was talking about it. He got everyone.
I got you a hoodie too.
Yeah, but he
Dude,
got you a medium.
A schmedia.
I need an extra large. My t-shirt's getting it's because I've been doing so much CrossFit. Oh, segue.
I'll do. So CrossFit, great when done properly, but very hard because you add the competition factor to it, right? So now, like, if you're doing squat cleans for time and you're doing them perfect, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like you have good form, you have good technique, you're recovering properly in between reps, you're gonna be fine. It's actually really good for you. But asshole John next to me is a little chubby and he's beating my ass. I can't lose, right?
Or
So now
Joe.
I'm gonna compromise my spine, right? Like Joe, the amount of times I broke my back trying to beat that dude in the CrossFit Open, right?
Yeah. Or when we compete,
It's like
battlegrounds.
that's the problem with CrossFit is
Picture
the
of you
competition.
front squat where you look like a shitting dog.
Let's
Yeah.
post
Well,
up
that's the thing,
that
like-
picture on the YouTube video. That'll be the title picture.
I tell my
CrossFit,
patients all the
CrossFit.
time, dude, CrossFit is perfect if you can check your ego. If you can't, you're probably fucked.
Yeah. Well, it's also like, well, what do we mean by CrossFit? Are we just talking like as a fitness modality or as the competition or as a training modality
No,
for
as a fitness
conditioning?
modality. Like no
Just-
one's doing competitions.
Yeah, well, it was
Well,
just fitness modality. Sure, it's a fine option. I think there's better options for people. There's smarter options. For the most part, it's like, do you have the capacity to lift your arms overhead? Yes or no. If you don't, CrossFit's probably going to be a pretty shitty option for you because you got to do a boatload of pull-ups, and more than likely, depending on the gym and the coach, they're not going to coach you through a decent option for you, which might be like ring rows or something like that, as you're potentially gaining range of motion in your shoulder to go up overhead so you can finally do a pull-up. But most people are just jamming their shoulders into, some sort of impingement while they're doing that shit. And I love CrossFit personally, but I also think that in the wrong hands, it's definitely not a good recipe, and that tends to be more often than not. But
yeah, I agree.
to the same token, right, they might just be like, all right, well, I'll just go bodybuild. Next thing you know, they're doing military press and you're in the same fucking scenario. So it's like people need to understand like how their bodies are moving and what it's capable of doing. And no one really knows that until you actually lay them on a table and assess it. Pretty simple. Can this person
That's fair. There's no answer for everyone, right? We're all different.
Yeah.
I think you just kind of take it, case by case. Like I have a 61-year-old woman who like loves CrossFit. I mean, obviously she like modifies a lot of the stuff and regresses everything, but like she loves the idea of going to that class, like working crazy hard, having a strength thing, having a Metcon. For the most part, she keeps herself safe. She overdoes it within her shoulders a little bit. But like I don't tell her like you shouldn't be, doing this. This is bad for you. Like it's still better for her, in my opinion, than like not doing anything or just running or something like, monotonous and stupid like that. And then there's people like that clearly shouldn't be doing
that. Fuck running.
And so I think it's just like a case by case. I used to be more like, bro or, anti. I feel like I've gone through like, back and forth. And now I'm kind of like, look, man, if this is what you love, I'm gonna help you do it. but I'm also going to show you how to stay safe. You know, that's the same thing if they came in and they're like, I ride bulls or whatever else. I'm like, all right, I'll do my best.
Yeah, I mean, we work with people that, well, at least I should say, I work with people that get punched and kicked in the head for a living. So who am I to tell them that they shouldn't be doing that?
Not day for you to get a shin to the face.
The next person just be like, you really shouldn't be doing CrossFit. Like, it just seems silly. I'm not going to be that guy that tells someone they shouldn't be doing something. We'll just teach them how to do it a little bit better and safer.
Yeah.
But you know what? The interesting thing with that, Joe, is that when you're going in, you're a combat athlete, you know that there's a risk of getting knocked out. I think the biggest issue with CrossFit is that there tends to be this belief that there's a coach there watching you. So therefore, I'm probably not going to get injured because someone's looking out for my best interest. And I think, like Chris was saying too, if you're competitive, and I think there's a certain type of person that is gravitates towards that, you're kind of it's a perfect recipe, right? You've got a competitive environment, you've got a group setting where there's probably at least 8 to 10, maybe more people in a class, and people doing like advanced lifts under load, under fatigue, and there's a cheerleader. Yeah, there's a cheerleader mentality to it, which I think is like, I personally love competitive CrossFit. I think it's so cool to see people push their bodies. Do I like it for general population? No, it's not even in my top 5 recommendations. But I think that people doing some metabolic conditioning and doing some weightlifting is a good combination. But I can count on my hand the amount of people I've met that should be doing snatches. You know what I mean? A lot of people are doing things way outside of their pay grade. So I think that if you go to the right gym and you find a person who can help you figure out what kind of stuff you need to do as far as scaling your activity and making sure that, like, you give people a little bit of what they want, but also what they need, and you start to fit the exercise to the goals. And if someone's trying to lose weight, I don't think CrossFit is going to be the best way to go. If someone's trying to get jacked and tanned, I don't think it's the best way for them to, like, you could choose something else. You could do like a mix of cardio and weight training, or something that, maybe is a little bit more fun for them. If they're just trying to lose weight, you could get them doing, like, I don't know, cardio boxing or something different, but that also has its own potentials for injury and for overuse and for, the competitive drive, getting people, beat up. So I won't pick on CrossFit. I don't think that that's necessarily fair, but like,
yeah, it's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, that's just it. I'm trying to lose weight.
I choke friends in a padded room. Like,
yeah. I think it's
ACL reconstruction.
Yeah.
It's also about people's tolerance to trying different stuff, because I think what it is a lot of people are afraid of, like, when they first get into strength training, a lot of people are nervous and they're maybe a little sensitive about it. And the cool thing is CrossFit has a great community vibe around it. And I think what I hope happens is that we eventually step beyond that and we start to welcome more people into that community in various different types of strength conditioning. So it becomes more of like a general sense of like, hey, let's take all the good and let's discard all of the bad, and then let's kind of move things forward a little bit better. So
do you think the way to fix it is to take the competitive nature out of it, or do you think that's what pushes people? It's a kind of a hard, like, is you don't want to like push too hard so you get hurt, but if you don't push, then you're just the same, you don't get better. I'm always like, you got to be on that line, right? The line to where you like, if you cross the line, you get injured. If you're not close to the line, you don't improve, right? So you're just, if you stay way low, you're just going to be this. It's that dude who has been lifting the same way. He did 10 push-ups 10 years ago. He still does 10 push-ups.
Yeah.
It's like he never got better.
It's kind of like their perceived intensity, right?
Yeah.
So how hard they think they're going. I mean, because everybody's out there designing their own workouts, right? They're going to be like, all right, today we're doing a chipper. We're going to start off with 50 calories on the bike. That's your buy-in. And then we're going to do 50 calories on the bike as a buyout. But in between, we're going to do 50 burpee box jumps, 50 power cleans, 50 wall balls, and then 50 burpee box jumps, 50 power cleans, and then you're finishing with the bike. It's like where you're pushing, I think where people try to push their intensities more often than not, they're choosing a modality when they're going through there. Like, you can push the bike, but it might set you up for failure moving forward in regards to like your breathing patterns at the very beginning. So like being educated on like how to go through a workout and like what the intention is behind a workout is very important. And I feel like CrossFit just kind of throws shit at the wall and sees what sticks.
Dan, what do you think of that workout?
Unless you have a good coach.
Yeah, Dan,
Unless you
what
have
do
a
you think
good
of that
coach.
workout that he just taught?
That I was getting angry just hearing Joe
Me
going through all
too.
this.
But is there a
Because-
dumber way to
because-
gain fitness than something like that?
I only
Well,
said burpee box jump just to trigger you a little bit.
It's
But
very triggering.
again, you know, being able to
But that's a
workouts is it's like having an intention behind it, you know, because like we'll use with Courtney and Jakar, you know, I'll use like, let's call it like CrossFit, mixed modality of training in their training, but we're going to pick things that they're really good at, they're skilled at, and I'm going to tell them where I want them to start picking up pace or focusing more on, you know, breaking certain things up. Like if there's going to be a random work, like let's just say 50 kettlebell swings somewhere in their workout, I want them to break up those kettlebell swings. I want them to have efficient swings. I want them to have efficient form. I want them to rest properly. And then they're going to swing maybe for 10, drop the bell, take a second, shake it out, go back into it. Really small rest interval. They're not racing against anybody.
What's a better form of group exercise than Skinner?
well,
Right? Because because there's everything we always
That's a
talk
good
about
question.
when we try to improve, like we always try to improve these fitness programs, right? But we're at a like a pay line there, right? Right? These guys are paying $180 a month for a membership. But we talk about like specifying the workout to that person's needs so they don't get injured and so they improve. Now you're looking at like a $400 a month, $500 a month. Right. So it's hard for me to like, I don't know that I have a better recommendation than CrossFit that covers the most base. I don't know. I don't think it's yoga. I don't think it's Pilates. I think they all have their weaknesses and their strengths. I think they're all good.
It's also that I don't think there's anything that covers the base for everybody. And I think that maybe the most important thing to do is to go back and actually like you know, when people use that word functional movement, like, what does that even mean? Like, when we're talking about CrossFit, what does that mean? In my opinion, that's talking about like the Glassman OG CrossFit, which is varied movements done at high intensity with, you know, all this other rhetoric around it. And I think back to like the .com programming where it was like, just Joe brought up a perfect example. It's like every day felt like a random workout. And it's like the whole philosophy behind it was like, oh, you can never be prepared for the unexpected. So you have to do all this training that looks kind of random. Now that has a lot of appealing things to it. The first thing is it's really appealing to coaches because it's fucking easy to make a workout. Joe just made a workout, and I guarantee you that that's very similar to the kind of workouts that people get in their CrossFit gyms. But do I think that what CrossFit has become now is bad? I don't think so, because I know a lot of great gyms where people program really, really intelligently. But that takes time, it takes effort, and it takes people who give a shit. Because I know just as many other coaches and gyms where they're just basically, they have someone like Joe there writing these workouts. You just be a monkey on a typewriter, hacking away, and then you just put numbers and exercises next to each other with no real intention for the order that you're doing them in, which ones you're going to emphasize doing, you know, with good, you know, form and rest, and which ones you're going to use for like your burnout at the end, which that in and of itself is just kind of like the language we even use around exercise is so funny. Like this idea that you need to just fucking blow out the gas line at the end of your workout to have a good, successful workout is just crazy. And I think,
didn't you read David Goggins' new book, dude? Come on.
Yeah.
Dude, Goggins is the opposite, is a very, very inspiring dude. He's a character, you know, like that. Like, do you want any of your patients to apply 100% of the Goggins logic? Like, it would be that you'd see them for the rest of your life. You'd be working on extremity.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
But here's an idea for Jamie.
But like, hey, just one second here, quick, Joe. The last thing I just wanted to say was this idea that like having the hardest thing to teach someone is the difference between pain and discomfort. And I think what you're doing is you're chasing discomfort in a workout because you want a person, like, you're not going to grow unless you're uncomfortable. But if you push that red line too far, now you're flirting with injury, and nobody is impervious to injury. Like I've trained people for years, and even under the best watchful eye, well, even under my watchful eye with what I thought was the best form, people still can hurt themselves. And that can be just from, you know, excessive loading. It can be from under recovering. The person might have had a shitty sleep the night before. They might not have, you know, maybe their breathing got a little ahead of them. Something went wrong. And so no one's going to get out of life alive. Like, we're all going to have injuries as we go through it. But I think that making better decisions ultimately lead to less of that happening.
Yeah, so this is a good place to cut it off. Chris, thanks for joining in on this one. Dan, Demir, wonderful. Still time for people to sign up for the March seminar in Davenport, Iowa. So again, we'll put all the things below in the show notes. Also on the YouTube page, we'll put the discount in there. Early 100 will save you $100. Highly recommend not procrastinating. Just get on there, sign up. We're gonna blow your minds, especially if the guy right down there on my corner. If he shows up, we're gonna have a damn good time. We're gonna
check it out. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
See you guys.
All right. Thanks for that,
See you,
guys. That was really
boys.
fun.